live?
We're live.
Here we go. We messed up a little bit. I messed up on my end, trying something new here. But here we are. We've got Juni The Wiccan, another episode Backstage with Brofiki. We're going to be talking about his discovery of social media, where we just met through TikTok, jumped into a live of mine. We're going to tell his story as to what he's doing with music, how he got into it, the story behind his name, and some of the backstage behind the scenes stuff of what it takes to become a musician, an artist, a writer, producer, things like that. Some of the things that people don't talk about, right? Especially nowadays where, you know, we've got technology at our fingertips. We could do almost anything with it. But the thing is, what do you look for? Who do you talk to? What type of things you need to do? And also the desire is like why you wanted to make music in the first place. Now, I know we talked about a few things that didn't go in here because you got to love the internet, bugging out and not going live. And this is my first live stream on YouTube through StreamYard. Shout out to StreamYard for being amazing. Using the free stuff, though, is a little bit different, but it's been great so far. So thank you to StreamYard. Thank you to Small Rig, Alpha Guard, Canon for helping me out, backing me up. And also, you for joining me today. Thank you so much. With that, and yeah, like real quick backstory, we met, I was doing a TikTok live, you jumped in, you're like, yo, check out my music, and I'm like, all right, done. And that was that. I'm like, hey man, like I do this podcast thing, and usually do it with a homie of mine. He's not here. Are you good? And here we are. Yeah,
man.
So,
I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited to be talking to you, man. This is I think only like the second interview I've ever really done.
really?
Yeah, I've had some articles done from like the local scene, and
Yeah.
one cat out in, Lord, I can't remember where it is, somewhere here in New England. He ended up putting me on his list for June's best songs back in June, so I was super excited about that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, definitely a pleasure to be here, man. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great, man. The thing is, I love doing this. Like, I love talking to people. I've worked in the music industry for 6 years now, doing photos, doing videos, and kind of learning, things as I go. Like, I wasn't too big into social media either. I didn't even know what TikTok was until COVID happened. Yep. My kids were like, Dad, can I download this app? And I'm like, what is this app? I literally like reached out to their mom and I was like, hey, how do you feel about this TikTok thing? And I'm like, should I be worried? Is this like Snapchat or whatever? Because I don't know. Like, I have a Facebook page. I did Instagram. But, it was just like, all right, I'll check this out. And then there's all these dance videos and weird, like, really cool things that people are doing, all this talent. I'm like, man, then you start learning stuff on, like, did you know that the lid on, or, on a can of Coke, you flip it around and that's where you put the straw. And I'm like,
yep.
what? And then you all this music stuff. So the whole live feature wasn't even around. I didn't know how to do that. Now I just do it because I'm like, you know what? I want to talk about something, but nobody's around here. And maybe somebody will be able to like listen or respond to some of the crazy questions that I got going on in my head. Because everyone in my life's gonna be like, you're crazy, dude. Like, what are you talking about? That people are colors that smell like numbers. I'm like, I don't understand. So you jump in, you send me a track, or no, you said, check out my music. I'm like, I'm down, because I personally think sharing music is one of the most intimate things you could do with people, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
It's different than like, hey, check out this movie. It's like, yo, this song moved me, and I want to share that with you because I enjoyed it. It means a lot to me. So I'm going to share a piece of me with you, whether you like it or not. To me, that's like,
especially
so I did.
When you're sharing, like when you're sharing stuff you make, because that is literally taking a piece of you out, putting it out there, and like being like, hey, this is a part of me. Will you check it out?
Yeah. So that's what I did. You jumped in, and I think I was getting on and talking about something about like, my whole thing was stop apologizing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It drives me nuts, but that's why I was so frustrated. No one was around. I'm like, screw it. I'm getting on TikTok. I'm going live, and I don't care. Whatever. I'm just telling everybody, like, stop apologizing for the dumbest thing. You know what I mean? Like when you reach out to somebody or like you say something, and you're like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. And I'm like, you're apologizing for saying it's like you're apologizing for existing, man. Like,
Right.
no, man, take up your space. I'm so glad that you said something. And ironically, I run a couple podcasts where I interview people in the music industry, like for fun anyway. So it's just kind of like a win-win for both of us.
Yeah, absolutely. And that I was like so blown away too, because I like I said, I've met some really cool people through TikTok Live and stuff, but this is a first for me in this kind of situation where someone's like, hey, I run a podcast and I do this, that, and the other thing. You want to be on there? And I was like, yeah, man, that'd be great. So
I to me, one, that's surprising, but like that's just kind of, I don't know. I feel like if I were like in your shoes and I'm like, you know, trying to get my music out there and stuff, I would hope that somebody would give me an opportunity like that. And so that's kind of where my mind is like, be the change that you want to see in the world, or be like, just be that guy rather than like wanting someone else to be that. Just become it and then it happens.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
me, I'm like it's just it's so simple for me. But then again, I have to learn. I had to learn a lot, right? Like what streaming services to use, or you know, how to create a podcast and then how to record it, and then do we dial in? Do we have to be in the same place? Right. That's the first thing that comes up. Like, do I use a phone? Do I use a laptop? Like, you know, when you message me, I'm like, dude, you can use your phone. Here's a link. But it's the same thing with music, right? And that's kind of what I wanted to talk to you about today is, you know, like what tools and resources do you use right now? You know, for some of the songs that you've got on all these streaming services, right? So guys, check out his music just right now, as before we get into this, like seriously, Spotify, Amazon Music, you've got YouTube music videos for this guy. He's got some sick collabs with some guys. He's done some really cool like remixes / covers of a couple songs, and I'll link all of this below too. But I'm just like, I'm blown away, man. Like you gave me some vibes from like early 2000s of Sweatshop Union with like radio edit and memories, and I'm like, whoa. And then we got some atmosphere vibes and stuff, and I'm like,
thanks, man.
It's not what I normally listen to, but I was like, this guy's like, just tell me this story, especially the name. Where did the name come from?
So the name, it's funny. My whole life, I grew up in like a relatively strict Christian background.
All right.
I was, you know, going and I was really into the Bible when I was a kid. I was like, just, I don't know what it was. Maybe it was the history part of it, because I am a bit of a history nerd. But like, I was really into it, and I wanted to become a pastor at a young age.
Okay.
And I worked towards that. I did inductive Bible study. I know a lot about, you know, the Bible and a lot of their stories as well. And as I got older, I started seeing things in the Bible where I was like, that's really contradicting, or not only is it contradicting, that's just flat out wrong. You know what I'm saying? And like, I don't understand why all this stuff, it makes no sense to me. And, eventually I got kicked out of the church for having a child out of wedlock.
Okay.
And when I left, I was like, I kind of felt lost, because this was my first time where I wasn't going to church on Sundays. I wasn't, you know, trying to preach and be part of it and everything. And when me and my daughter's mother moved in together, we she was more into the naturopath kind of thing as it was. We actually met at church. And she had been practicing, once we left the church, a little more into like the spiritualism side of things. And you know, I was like, I was all right with, you know, I was like, cool, that's sick. And after a while, I started asking questions, being like, well, what does this do? Or what's the purpose behind this? And she started teaching me, and I ended up kind of just taking off with it and being like, you know, seeing results from doing certain things like serious clear manifestation, or doing spells that solidified what you would call a prayer, you know, to the energy out there and everything like that. And seeing these things come to fruition was like, damn, this is some proof to me, at least. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be everybody's reality, but this is I see it working in my reality. So
Okay.
I started kind of diving in. I looked into the Wiccan practice because it was kind of the more recent of magical practices. So I
Okay.
kind of dived in. It was a little easier for me to understand. I was like, okay, like, you know, do no harm to others is main, like one of their main teaching, things like that. I was like, I really like that. I'm a hippie by heart, so I'm just like, you know,
All right.
I'm all about the peace and love. But I ended up actually leaving the Wiccan tradition and going more
Okay.
into like an eclectic pagan. I
Okay.
take a little bit of different practices from different areas that resonate with me well. Unless it's like a closed practice, I won't practice a closed practice. But I'll go in and I'll take a little bit out of folk magic from the Celts. I'll take a little bit of folk magic from the area that
Hmm.
Germany is now. You know, I kind of go all over the world and take little pieces and parts of it. I actually have, I don't even know if I have it with me, but I have a spell book sitting over here somewhere that I've been writing and compiling different spells and teachings and stuff so I can give it to my daughter when she turns 18.
I love that.
Yeah.
Eh, that's very unique. And then with Juni, is that
So
where's it?
that's my nickname. So nobody in my family has ever called me by my real name. It's
Okay.
always been Juni. That has just always been it. So as I got older and I got out of school, people weren't calling me by my real name anymore. And I was like, I don't even like the way my real name sounds. So I'm just going to call myself Juni. And so when people find out my real name, they're kind of like, whoa, that's throwing me off a little bit.
Yeah, I can relate to that too. Like,
Yeah.
I've got, yeah, I've always had a nickname. Like, my parents have never called me by my full first name, which is
Yeah.
really weird. So I can relate to that. And the whole thing with like Wiccan pagan culture, like, I am fascinated by it too, and looking at that. And it's interesting, like, when you say spells, spell books, whatever. Really, all it is, if anybody's into the AI stuff right now, like, it's all prompt engineering and how you say things with intent, with the
Right.
belief in self. And I've, I've gone into that quite a bit with self discovery and whatnot. And it's interesting that you're saying these things because it it's tied into your music too, and
Yeah.
everybody has a way of like expressing themselves. Like, you might write a song, but for me, I design this where I'm like, I want to talk to people about how they came to do what they're doing rather than
Yeah.
like the desire to manifest, right? It's just the actual just being a musician, being a rapper.
Yeah.
But aside from rap though, like, you got some hip hop vibes in there. You got some like ah let's get into that a little bit, man. Like,
Yeah.
what aside from a little, the whole COVID thing and whatnot, TikTok, where we synced up, is where does your inspiration come from, as far as like, when did music become a prominent part of your life? What type of music was that, and who was that for you? Was it like mom, dad? Was it, you mentioned church? Was it church gospel singing on Sundays? Like,
Yeah.
where did that come from?
So it's music's always been a huge part of my life. My mom, shout out to moms, what's up, and my biggest
Yeah.
supporter. She was always listening to music. I'm Puerto Rican, and so music was a huge part of our life. And every Saturday, I'd wake up and my mom would be blasting salsa out in the living room, and the whole house would
Yeah.
smell like fabuloso, and it was just very ingrained since a young age. And as I got older, it was a lot of hip hop, a lot of old school stuff. Biggie, she listened to a lot of underground, like Cassidy, and a few other of those artists like that from like New York. And it was just always around me, and I loved
Yeah.
music. I loved rapping along or singing along and being part of it. And it always gave me this energy. I always felt re-energized whenever I would like put music on, and I was like, yeah, this is where it's at. The older I got, I started playing guitar a little bit. I still play a little bit of guitar, not
Okay.
super well, but I can do like, the basic stuff.
Mhm.
I started playing at church, and I got really I don't want to use the word addicted because it sounds like bad, but almost like pulled into the feeling of being up front in front of everybody, singing and seeing everybody's eyes closed, you know, with their hands raised and singing back to you. And that exchange of energy, because like the whole thing with witchcraft, we believe that speaking is one of the highest powers you have. I mean, in the Bible, even itself, in Christianity, it says God didn't create the world with his hands, he spoke it into existence. God said, let there be light. God said these things. He said that for the firmament and the waters to separate. He used his words to build what is around us, which is the actual definition of manifestation. So that back and forth of energy, I was like, I want to feel like this all the time, you know. And eventually I went away from the church and everything like that. I was writing poetry, and I loved poetry, and I started applying my poetry to beats. And so after a while, I kind of built it into becoming a rapper. And I was like, you know, I want to do this. And of course, in the beginning, it was a little sloppy, but I just
gotta start somewhere.
You know, I started somewhere. I started hanging out with my friends. You know, anytime we would sit down and smoke and stuff, they just throw a beat on. They'd start freestyling. I started freestyling. And I'm like, dude, you need to record some music. And I'm like, I don't even know where to start. You know, I'm a young dad. I'm working 40 hours a week. I'm like, I have no clue where to start. And one of my buddies ended up matching me up with this dude. And this guy was part of a clique called Mind's Eye Tribe. And he really liked
the name already.
Yeah, it was awesome. And he taught me how to record. He taught me, you know, what I needed to know about mics and things like that. How I could like do an easy free setup so I could like do it all myself. And
what was included in that?
So as far as
like when you first started out, like what was your basic setup? What did he tell you or show you or to use a mic?
So he had an insane setup. He had a really cool setup, and he had a mic with like a whole monitor system, MIDIs around. He had all the all kinds of crazy equipment. And I'm just like, damn, this is nuts. And he's like, you don't need all this. He's like, basically, dude, he's like, if you do it right and meet the right people who can master your tracks, he's like, you could get a MacBook, use GarageBand, find somebody who masters with Pro Tools and is good at it, and just send over the raw stuff to them and they can work through it. And I was like, oh, damn, I didn't realize I only really needed like my mic and my laptop. And so, yeah, for a few years I was recording with him, left the group because we were both going through things in our lives, stopped doing music for a bit. And then I stopped doing music for about 2 years. Okay. And I ended up, I was working at a head shop called Good Times Gallery. Okay. And I started rapping for people while I was selling them glass, like bongs and stuff. And everybody fell in love with it. And they were like, yo, we go.
Yeah, hell yeah.
You know, it was so sick. And I'd be like, I'll give you 10% off of anything you buy today if you listen to my music. And they'd be like, okay. So I'd start rapping for them over the counter as I'm wrapping their glass. And I have some old videos somewhere around it I could send you, man. It's nuts. And people would come in just to hear me rap and buy, like they would buy like a little $10 piece of something, but they came in mainly to hear if I had any new music. And I wasn't even recording at the time. So
you didn't need to.
Yeah,
okay.
It was a blast.
So you doing that, it seems like this is an opinion, but like, it's almost like these people in that experience helped create self-belief for you to do this. And then it gave you a reason to start coming up with more stuff. And then you start taking yourself serious a little bit. And then fast forward a little bit, here we are, you've got in this conversation, but like, that's just incredible, right? Like, I mean, I was thinking about this the other day when I pulled up your songs. I'm like, how does a musician that's not signed get their music on Spotify?
So
right? Like, how does that even work?
That's actually interesting. So my buddy, shout out Charlie Main. He's actually Charlie Main, dude. He is one of the biggest cats out right here right now. So I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about his situation right now, but I know he's on to big things.
That's great. Shout out to Charlie.
He is.
I'll check him out
right now. He is my big bro. I've been known him forever. We've been growing together. Like he's unbelievable. I actually just played a show with him not too long ago in Burlington.
Okay.
But he told me, he was like, listen, dude, he's like, because he came out from Cali, and he's like, this is how artists work. And he's like, you need to get an ASVAB and an not an ASVAB, I'm sorry, an ASCAP, or a BMI, or both of them, that like holds down your name and copyrights your name so no one can steal it or steal like your sound and stuff like that. He's like, after you do that, if you want to start recording and get your music out there, he's like, you need a distribution site. There's a few you can go through. I use DistroKid right now.
DistroKid.
I've been thinking about switching over to United Masters, because they let artists keep 100% of their revenue, and on top of that, they have like a scouting system. So if they see one of your songs is blowing up through their distribution site, they'll call you and sign you kind of in a sense as like an independent artist. I'm pretty sure that's how NLE Choppa got big. Was United Masters hit him up through that.
Okay.
So you go through a distribution site, you download your song, make sure that all of your stuff is your stuff. If you bought a beat, make sure you have the contract for the lease or the complete rights to it on your computer. So if anybody tries to ever call you out, you can have those files on hand. Read through them, because not reading those things can screw you if your song does blow up, because some leases will only allow you a certain number of plays. They might not allow you to do a music video with their stuff. There's a lot of stuff you got that goes into it.
Okay. So this is if you're using beats or parts of songs that you're incorporating in with your own lyrics. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's if you're not producing your own beats. Okay. I'm still learning a lot of stuff here too. Okay. One thing I did learn is like having like trademarks and like rights reserved for things too. So like if you have a logo, if you like your name, Juni The Wiccan, like you'd want to like register that, or
and that's what the ASCAP and the BMI is for.
So that helps you do all of that. Okay.
Right.
That's neat. Thanks for sharing that. I mean,
yeah, absolutely. A little piece.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, man, like I worked with so many musicians through a lot of different avenues, whether I was working shows, like doing photo, video, social media stuff, interviews, things like that. But like most of the time I'm like, how did you guys get here? Why do you have this giant tour bus? Like, where did this come from? How did you get this record deal? You know what I mean? Like, I remember when MySpace was a thing, and that's where I discovered music for the first time, really. And that's what was, shout out to MySpace,
Yeah, shout out Tom.
Yeah. But like that's where Kid Cudi started his career. I just watched his documentary the second time just recently, and that's all it was, is he had Day and Night on his MySpace page. That was it. Or it was Your Call was the name of the song by Secondhand Serenade, and I was a super emo kid in the early 2000s.
Feel that.
And John just like blew up, and it was because of MySpace. And I'm like, that's one thing Facebook doesn't have. So it's like TikTok is like allowing you to just really, I think TikTok is like really like the app for any and all creators. And what I mean by that is it gives you so many examples of just doing something. And even if you don't do what other people are doing, to me, I've seen so many people become inspired by watching something. Like I could watch you like behind the scenes write a song or play the guitar, and it's going to inspire me to go build shelves. Like it's weird.
Yeah, no, I feel that, man. I do that same thing like with TikTok. I feel that all the time. Like I'll be watching it, and then all of a sudden something will pop up, and I'll be like, oh man, actually this would be a great time to blah blah blah, do whatever. You know what I'm saying? It is interesting. It can be super inspirational, as long as you're using TikTok. Is really it's a tool like anything else, man. If you're using the tool properly, you can get a lot out of it.
Okay, speaking of what all tools are you using now? Like I know there's a lot of trial and error, and I'm sure like there's hundreds of tools you can use, or apps, or websites and things like that. What are some things that you use, and how did that come to be?
So, it's funny, man. Like, I only blew up on TikTok probably in the last 2 years, something like that.
Uh-huh.
And that's like my main tool. I haven't been posting much recently because I've been working like a lot. My job requires a lot of my attention. So it's been kind of tough to get on there. But you know, I went out, and it's about investing in yourself. Like, I invested in a laptop. It's about knowing a lot of people. I have a lot of friends that help me with stuff. Like, my mic came from my buddy Warren. We're hanging out at his house one time, and he's like, "Why don't you record music, dude?" And I'm like, "I don't have money for a mic, bro. Like, I have a kid and stuff. I just don't have the extra money right now." And he goes, "Hold on a second." And he climbs. He climbs into this massive pile of laundry, and he's like a semi-pro skier and stuff. So he's got all of his ski gear. He's like moving over, and he goes, "Oh, dude, check this out." And he picks up this brand new box that hasn't been opened. He's like, "I've had this mic sitting in my closet for like the last 4 years, and I've done nothing with it." He's like, "Do you want it?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'll take it. Like, I'll figure out what to do." Like, my other buddy Lewis had a had a laptop, had the MacBook and all the GarageBand stuff, and I was like, "I'll just record with him because we make music together anyway." Shout out Elevator Family. That's my brand. That's my group right there.
I love it.
Yeah, dude, it just worked like that. Knowing people, being genuine with folks, and having people around you that truly believe in your talents, your gifts, or even just your goals. Like, if you're, you know, the only way you can get good at something is to kind of suck at it at first. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, don't be too disappointed in the beginning stages, because things take time. It takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, a lot of effort.
Just like me. Yeah, just like today with me trying to use this new service, man. I'm like, I hit it. You know, I totally get that.
And a lot of other tools too, like, are things that you can't buy, man. Like, self-care, meditate, do time with yourself. Because, like, you can't discover yourself if it's constantly being clogged up with other people around all the time, on social media, watching TV, playing video games. Like, spend some time with yourself. You know, really get to know yourself and what it is you're looking for. If you have a goal, what is it that you're trying to achieve with this goal? You know, make it known to yourself, and make sure that you are consistently connected with who you are, to be able to move forward. And that's a tool that a lot of people miss, you know, yourself.
I love that. And thank you for bringing that to the forefront of this conversation, because honestly, that's what got me here with doing podcasting and doing TikTok and actually speaking, you know, my truth. A lot of people don't understand what that means, but that's kind of like what you're doing with music, is expressing yourself and your emotions and all of your experiences, all of your failure, only one, all of your successes, multiple, and just being in that flow state in the present moment. You know, it's kind of where a lot of people are always striving to get to, rather than just being in it. So that's something that I've learned. That's why I started doing what I do. And then when I realized that I had a voice and I really actually enjoy public speaking, I can now speak to musicians. I used to get really nervous, like when I would be around certain musicians that I just really liked their music. I wouldn't even know what to say. And it's not that I'd get starstruck. It's just that I would appreciate them for writing specific songs that meant so much to me that I didn't know how to reciprocate that in words. That's why I started taking photos of them as a thank you. And so that was my like antidepressant and everything. For me, it gave me something to do at night to go photograph concerts. And it gave me something to do during the day, is to edit it and keep my mind off of all the stuff that was going on. So that's why I did photos. And that was my thank you to musicians. Like, you guys created this experience for me. I want to capture the experience that I'm having for you, because that was something that I could do for someone else. It didn't cost money for them. They didn't have to pay me. It was more of like, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do the photo. So it's kind of like right now, like, thank you for writing music that was moving and taking time out of your day, jumping into my TikTok live, like, yo, check this out. And I highly recommend a lot of people just believing in themselves a little bit more and realize that you're going to have a lot of people that are going to say no. You're going to have a lot of people turn you down. You're going to have a lot of people that say, you know, you're not my vibe. And it's important for you, like you said, sit with yourself, get to know yourself a little bit more, be more comfortable in your own skin. And adding to that would be believe in yourself a little bit more, and you don't need that validation from everyone else because you can do it for yourself. And so, you know, that's kind of like what brings us here. And I'm like, you know what, like, let's start talking about the things that nobody else is. Like you mentioned this tool, and that tool that most people don't talk about is exactly nailed on the head, man. And I'm just like, I'm not surprised, but I'm so grateful that you brought that up, because there are a lot of resources people don't think about. And yeah, like understanding self, whatever, but also realizing like what feeds your soul, what makes your soul happy. A lot of people talk about these spiritual awakenings, journeys, whatever. And you shared earlier a little bit about like, you know, your study in religion and Christianity and, you know, things like that. Your family being Puerto Rican, like families from Carolina, or yeah, Carolina. My grandmother was there. I've never been, but so like I understand the culture's a little bit different there. And then, you know, Wiccan paganism, things like that. And at the end of the day, like it's just belief in self, and regardless of what that is, and understanding like, yo, we're all one, man. We really are. We just need to lift each other up and believe in each other. Like I said, I'm just so grateful you shared that song with me. It helped me out. And I'm like, I want to get to know this guy. Like, hey, like, let's, what can we do? Because how many other people do you think are out there that are watching this or will watch clips of this or whatever on TikTok and Instagram? Like the biggest thing is like, nobody's talking about the little things that it takes to get there. You don't just like make a song and produce it, and you don't just create a TikTok and have over 1 million, you know, likes. I saw, shout out to you, man. Like you figured something out, and that's cool. But a lot of people are like, oh no, it took me months to figure out this algorithm. Like you have to pay me and hire me to be your coach to guide you through this. Like, no, man. Like,
no, I've seen so much of that, man. I've seen so much of people that are like, and they're not even like, you know, I've seen people even who don't have 100,000 followers doing that exact thing, being like, it took me months to figure out the algorithm. I need you to pay me to be a coach and all this. And I'm like, you know, if we all put in, we all succeed. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is that it's like, why wouldn't you want somebody to succeed in general? If that's the case, then you're a hater, bro. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to see other people bumped up. Like if they start doing better than you, now you feel bad because you're not doing as good or something like that. And that it comes with being, you know, sometimes comes with being human, being greedy, being like, I want what's best for me, which is always, you know, the good thing. But for me, you know, through music and stuff, like I built this group called Hellifader, and we call ourselves the Hellifader family because I have one guy who makes t-shirts and does clothing, and he's really into that and he wants help. So he, you know, whenever he does some music, we make sure we bring as much of the family as we can for the night. And people were buying t-shirts. I'm going and paying for my merch through him. Videographers, people that do, you know, we have this base network of people that we are messing with because we see that they have a vision and we have a vision. And as long as we are helping each other, I mean, I've been seeing the building blocks. I've been seeing people get built up just from having these type of connections and moving forward and actually helping each other rather than being like, nah, bro, you're getting too close. You're getting, you know, further above than I am. Like, I'm not okay with that. And it's like, you gotta cheer the people on, bro. You gotta cheer anybody on who's going to hustle.
I mean, you think about it like everybody starts somewhere. It's not like D12, right? Where you have like a bunch of rappers and everybody's going out to do something, or the Rough Riders, you know, from, you know, it's like, that's how I think about it with hip hop anyway, using this example in rap from like your genre of music. But like, even with bands, or like what I'm noticing with EDM scene and DJs, usually you'll have a headliner and you'll have local direct support, but even the headliners, a friend of mine that's a well-known DJ, he was going out to a show and I was driving out to see him, and he was like, hey, do you know who the openers are, because they don't tell him who the openers are. And it was because he wanted to help promote the opener for his show, not his own show. And I'm like,
Yep.
that guy's doing something. And what he does
Yep.
different is he created like, and I share this with everybody, but what made him grow the most, and he told me this in person, because he took a chance on me, which is, I'll have to share this story with you one day, but like he gave me the highlight of my photography career this last August, and I had a broken knee, and I pushed my surgery back 2 days just so I could go. And I got to be on stage with him, and it was just me and him and his manager and his personal photographer and a sea of 20,000 people. And I was on stage with just him, and he's like, dude, you're dope and your work's good. And I'm like, but I don't, like, I'm not that good. And there's other people here. And he's like, you're a good person and I believe in you, and there's no reason why you can't be on this stage with me right now. And it's because of him that I'm like, I'm always going to have that mindset. Like, just one more minute, one more call, one more whatever. Like, it's not going to take anything for me, because I swear to you, man, like listening to your stuff, and I literally, after I listened to your music, I reached out to about 7 musicians of mine, and I said, I want you guys to do a collab with this guy, swear to you. And I'm working on that. Obviously, I was going to talk to you about it first, but like, I have friends that are touring soon. My buddy Awesome Ray is out there in Maryland, and well, he's in DC, and he's doing a little tour around there. And all these people that I've already interviewed, I'm like, I want to get you guys all together, even for a project that I'm working on. Like, I would love to have, you do a couple of verses for a song. I want to take all my friends that are musicians and do like one master song of like, this is going to be a country verse, and this is going to be a rap chorus, and this is good. I just want to do that and do something different. And I'm like, why not?
Dude. Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at, is like, let's take all the underdogs. And I say that lightly, but let's take talent from all different aspects and different whatever and create something that way, because that's where we're at. Like, I feel like everybody is just repeating the same information over and over, or trying to redo the same thing over and over in a different light. I'm like, no, let's create something absolutely new, a new genre, a new style. Like, for instance, just throwing this out there, but like, when we literally did like this online concert thing called A Tour to You, where 10 of the people that my buddy and I interviewed on our podcast to get to know them and their music background were like, why don't we just do an online concert? We called it A Tour to You, and asked everybody to do a 15-minute pre-recorded set. So we had a country singer, we had somebody with a Hollywood star on there from an older band that did a solo thing. We had a rapper. Like, I met like the next NF, like, no joke. His name is Ian, and he's in Colorado. I found him on TikTok, and he just launched a song, and it was like, he had like 2,000 plays. It's over 2 million now, which is crazy. And nuts. We were his first interview as well. And I'm like, dude, like, you have talent, like, let's help you. And this is what I'm getting from that, is like, it's because I spoke up, and I've never really interviewed or reached out to anybody via email. Like, hey, do you want, you know what I mean? Like, that's that's weird for me, just like it is for you, saying, hey, will you listen to my song? I'm like, do you want to be on my podcast? Like, it's the same concept where it's just like, yo, like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and nobody taught me how to do this. Like, legit, like, nobody taught me how to do this. I literally had to ask a few of my friends, like, what do I use? I'm not going to pretend like I know everything. I'm not going to have everything professionally done. I'm not going to have like overlays and shit like that. Like, I'm just not. And I don't want a script, because when somebody goes in to the studio like Juice WRLD, he never wrote anything down. Lil Wayne never wrote anything down. Sometimes they had to, because they forget stuff, because they smoke a little bit too much, medicine, you know what I mean? That's fine. But like, then you have people like Eminem that writes everything down. It doesn't matter how you do it. Just like, you believe in yourself. I don't have to be an expert. I don't need a piece of paper. I don't need to be, I am qualified for everything I decide to do. And so are you. And it's like, yo, we're supposed to do this. Let's bring this stuff together. And so when I had this idea and whatever, like, everyone loved it. And then I was like, yo, we have a DJ, we have a country singer, we have all this. And we did a 2-hour show special on YouTube, and we streamed it live. We sold tickets through Eventbrite. And then at the end of it, everybody was just like collabing and working together. People that would never talk to each other unless you were at like Coachella, and you're on different stages walking around. Like, how else are you gonna hear stuff? Because Spotify just announced and released this thing where like there's like tens of millions of songs that have no plays, and I'm like, whose fault is that, and whose responsibility is that, right? Because you are out there hustling just like you did with me, and you're like, yo, check my stuff out. Like, that's equivalent to popping your trunk in the early 90s and passing out demos.
Exactly. You know, and that's what actually, it's funny, when I first started, I was burning CDs and I was working in the kitchen, and I gave everybody that worked at the restaurant a copy of my CD, because I, you know, when I first went there, I'd be rapping out back, and then, you know, I'd be making crazy food. And as I'm making this food, I'm rapping, and people are like, yo, that's actually kind of dope, dude. Like, are you like blah, blah, blah? And I'd be like, yeah, actually, I got CDs in my backpack. You want one? And it was a lot of my early stuff. And all of them, they were super supportive. They were all like, yeah, dude, this is sick. We love this. And, you know, I'd walk around Church Street, which is like one of the main hubs here out in Burlington. And I'd be passing CDs around Burlington and just going out and doing my thing, man. Or like, even, you know, like I said, I was rapping in the head shop and stuff, and that's how I started out. It's super simple.
I love that. Fortunately, we're like right up on time, but you and I are going to talk more. We're going to do another episode, and I'm going to have this more put together than I did this last time. But next time I'm going to do this with Jukebox, because I shared your stuff with him, and he wants to do a podcast with him and me and you, which is a little different. So I get to do like the backstage, behind the scenes type stuff, but he does some cool stuff. He has some really cool questions, but excuse me. Wow, that was weird. First off, I want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your talent, your passion, and although like all this stuff's going on in life right now, like I just want to tell you, thank you for surviving 100% of your worst moments, man. Like, we don't have bad days. We only have good days, and bad things happen on good days. Doesn't make it a bad day. It's still a good day. And you deserve everything that you desire, man, because you're qualified for it. You know, I'm a huge believer in self-awareness, identity. That's what I've been studying. That's what I've been talking about. That's what my whole TikTok's about. I do a lot in the music industry, and all I want to do is pay it forward, because I got 3 beautiful kids, 16, 13, and 8. And when they want to do something in this life, I want to show them that you can do it. Like, you want to write a book, you want to be a musician, you want to do this, whatever, you can do it, because nobody taught me how to do this. And I wanted to do this because I just know that this will help somebody at some point. Just like you helped me the other day, more than you know, by believing in me and asking, you know, me to do something like that. And then, you know, having this podcast means a lot to me. So I just want to say thank you personally.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you know, a cornerstone in the building block of the community for this stuff, bro. It's rare to find folks like you around, you know, and it's top notch to see that, you know. I appreciate you. I appreciate what you're doing, man.
Yeah, like, let's get this out there. Everybody, go follow Juni the Wiccan, man. His stuff is everywhere. It's great. If you're following me, like, you're gonna see it all over my social media stuff for a little bit after Jukebox does his little magic and whatnot. And we're gonna have you back on, man. It's a pleasure to meet you. If anything, I'd say we just started a wonderful friendship, and I look forward to hearing from you more and seeing more of your stuff coming out. And this is just the beginning. So, man, thank you guys. Man. Thank you, man. Like,
absolutely
appreciate you. Until next time, guys, like, thank you for tuning in to Backstage with Brofiki featuring Juni the Wiccan. Check out his stuff. We'll be back soon. Thank you all.
Shout out Brofiki.